Commander Zyxal studied the lone figure hunched in the medical bay's corner. Sergeant Kreeth, once the pride of the Galactic Coalition's 3rd Assault Division, now stared at his clawed hands with hollow eyes that had seen too much. Of the 10,000 soldiers who had descended upon the blue planet called Earth 6 rotations ago, only he had returned. "The debrief is mandatory, Sergeant." Zyxal's voice carried the authority of someone who had never failed a conquest. High Command needs to understand what happened down there. Kreeth's mandibles clicked once, a sound that might have been laughter if it wasn't so broken. "They wouldn't believe it, sir." The mission had been routine. Earth was a backwater planet inhabited by a species that had barely achieved interstellar travel. Their weapons were primitive, their ships slow, their military tactics outdated by galactic standards. Intelligence suggested they would surrender within days of the initial assault. "Try me." Zyxal settled into the chair across from the traumatized soldier. For a long moment, Kreeth remained silent. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "We thought we understood warfare, Commander. We thought we knew what it meant to fight for survival. The invasion had begun perfectly. The Coalition forces had established orbital superiority within hours. Their advanced shields had deflected the humans' crude missile attacks like raindrops. The first wave of dropships had landed without significant resistance. They have no natural weapons," Kreeth continued, his voice growing distant. "No claws, no fangs, no armored carapace. They're soft, pink creatures that break easily. We laughed at them, sir. We actually laughed. But something had changed after the first day. The human resistance hadn't crumbled as predicted. Instead, it had evolved, adapted, grown more vicious with each passing hour. They don't fight like us," Kreeth's voice cracked. "We fight for territory, for resources, for honor. They fought for something else entirely, something we couldn't quantify or understand. The humans had started using their own infrastructure against the invaders. They collapsed their own bridges to deny passage, flooded their own tunnels to drown Coalition forces, destroyed their own cities rather than let them be taken intact. They fought with a desperation that bordered on insanity. They turned everything into weapons, sir. Kitchen knives, farming tools, even their children's toys. A human child, no bigger than a Thraxian larva, took out an entire patrol with something they called a science project." Kreeth's hands trembled. The explosion killed the child, too. They didn't care. But it wasn't just the improvised weapons or guerrilla tactics that had broken the Coalition forces. It was the humans' absolute refusal to surrender, even when facing certain death. They turned everything into weapons, sir. Kitchen knives, farming tools, even their children's toys. A human child, no bigger than a Thraxian larva, took out an entire patrol with something they called a science project. Kreeth's hands trembled. The explosion killed the child, too. They didn't care. But it wasn't just the improvised weapons or guerrilla tactics that had broken the Coalition forces. It was the humans' absolute refusal to surrender, even when facing certain death. "We cornered a group of them in what they called a hospital," Kreeth continued. "Wounded humans, medical staff, offspring, easy targets. But when we breached the doors, they fought us with medical equipment. A female healing cast member killed 3 of my squad mates with something called a defibrillator. The turning point had come during the siege of a human settlement called Texas. The Coalition had surrounded the city, cut off all supply lines, and demanded surrender. The humans' response had been to increase their resistance. They started calling it 'Remember the Alamo,'" Kreeth whispered. "We never understood what it meant until it was too late. They turned every building into a fortress, every street into a killing field. They fought room by room, floor by floor, never giving ground. By the 4th rotation, Coalition casualties had reached 90%. The humans hadn't just resisted, they had learned, adapted, and started using captured coalition technology against its creators. They reverse-engineered plasma weapons in days, cracked communication codes in hours, and turned the invaders' own tactics against them. The worst part, sir, Kreith looked up with eyes that held no hope, was that they were enjoying it. These soft, fragile creatures were laughing as they died, singing as they fought. They called it going out in a blaze of glory. Commander Zixal sat in stunned silence as the full implications hit him. And the evacuation? There was no evacuation, sir. I'm the only one who made it to an escape pod. Kreith's voice was barely audible now. The humans, they let me go. They wanted me to come back and tell you. Tell us what? Kreith finally met his commander's eyes, and in them was a terror that would haunt the coalition for generations to come. That if we ever come back, they'll be ready.